Greetings and welcome to the 13th and final Movie Night Extravaganza takeover of the This Is Revolution podcast. My name is Forrest Miller, the host of Movie Night Extravaganza. We've covered a wide range of movies during this last year. Just in case you missed any of the episodes, I figured I'd go over the list so you can go back and watch them later. I know you will. The list has included JFK, The Player, Mikey and Nikki, A Woman Under the Influence, Network, The Conversation, Ran, The Battle of Algiers, Chinatown, Fargo, A Clockwork Orange, and The French Connection. For this series, we have tried to stick with movies that are historically significant rather than the more eclectic mix of movies we do on Movie Night Extravaganza. Our final film has a lot in common with the previous entry to this list, The Battle of Algiers. They definitely stand out as siblings. Tonight's movie is the 1969 French-Algerian political thriller Z by the Greek-French director Kostas Gavras. It is based on the 1963 assassination of opposition politician, doctor, and anti-war activist Grigoris Lambrakis, but is actually a commentary on the events leading up to the 1967 Greek military coup, which led to the regime of colonels and the abdication of King Constantine. This is a unique movie because rather than commenting on events that have happened as a form of retrospective, Kostas Gavras directed this film during the Greek Junta, which meant that it couldn't be filmed in Greece. The film's producer, Jacques Perrin, suggested that they go to Algeria, which has just won its independence from France in 1962. The same Algeria, where they filmed the Battle of Algiers just a couple years earlier. Perrin has a large role in this film as a photojournalist who is sympathetic to the left. Z focuses more on the relationship between the military police, the official state apparatus, senior officials, and the right-wing paramilitary group that assassinates the deputy. In Z, the name of the far-right political party turned paramilitary enforcement arm is the Christian Royalist Organization Against Communism, or CROC. Kostas Gavras is also not afraid to show the link between economic suffering in Greece and the way that poverty was exploited by the far right. This movie is best known for its insanely bleak ending. The magistrate, who has withstood every single obstacle thrown in his path, finally has enough to charge a list of senior officials and military police for the assassination. Instead, a narrator tells you in an epilogue the magistrate was removed from the case. Witnesses either got off or were killed, and then the military coup occurred a couple years later. Spoiler alert there, but you can just look up the history if you want to. Now, before I bring in my panelists for the evening, I would like to remind you to like and subscribe to both This Is Revolution podcast and my channel, Movie Night Extravaganza. You can also support Movie Night Extravaganza on Patreon, where you get access to all kinds of amazing discussions and interviews. Links are in the description, so without further ado, let's bring in the crew. First off, we have Conan Neutron, host of Retonic Reversal and the front man in the band, Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, which is going to be doing a lot of touring soon. I'll let him plug all of that before the end. he has dates, he has cities, and I'm sure he'll love to tell all of us. He also has a new album on Bandcamp called Action Chief, just the solos. Kristina Oaks. I'm Kristina on Twitch. She's also on Patreon. She's been playing The Sims lately a lot on stream, and you'd find her over there. She's there 4 times a week. Jay Underworld, illustrator, book cover artist. Yesterday was National Book Day, so go pick up Against the Web by Michael Brooks. I mean, that's one of the ones he's done the cover for. And an artist for Give Them the Argument, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, and Bad Takes. Okay.
Kind of feels like we're on a real show.
Yeah.
that was very professional.
Sometimes I actually use my editing skills for something besides editing clips of like Dave Rubin and then putting rap music behind it.
Yeah.
Not very often.
Don't get on. We're shocked as anybody, but yeah, happy to be here. Of course, Kristina Oaks in absentia. The internet gods are not being kind to her tonight, so we hope they can join us at a later time.
Yeah, I hope she comes onto the. I'll probably play that again if she goes on to the after party tonight. Yeah. But
you do it every night. You don't have to hear anybody butcher the album titles.
I need to make a little correction. It's not Costas Gavras. It's Costa Gavras. It's not plural. I messed that up and then was too lazy to go back and re-record it.
And I love
do it again.
I love the Italian accent that you put on all the Greek names.
Hey, it's me, Costa. I'm coming in here to make the movie. What do you, fascismo?
We're off to a fantastic start. Not kidding. I got a lot of tour dates coming up. I really appreciated the very recent tour picture that you threw in from Louisville last weekend. That was awesome.
Yeah. I put that on our page too while you were still touring in Louisville. Very good. But I think I missed it by a day, so I said Conan toured last night.
It happened. It already happened. You missed it. It looked like this. There's a break. If you focus in on Erica, friend of the show and featured guest of the show, on her face, she's definitely got like an "I'm feeling it" face going on that is quite remarkable and entertaining.
Now, Mr. Krabs.
Yeah. Just real quick, Z. Before there was a Movie Night Extravaganza, I was trying to aggressively lobby Jason to cover Z as a This Is Revolution movie episode, to which I was politely blown off is probably the best way that I can put it. Not the least of which is due to logistical concerns of how one streams movies, this, that, and the other. But I find this movie incredibly compelling, interesting. I like the fact that it is a political thriller that's done ostensibly as a procedural, and also one of those bummer endings of all time, especially if all you do is stop at the film. But that's it. I quite like it. This is a Criterion Challenge gem for me. I'll tell anybody I can about it because it has maybe the most forgettable title in the history of films.
So, I mean, there's an interesting postscript to that, though, because the magistrate, his name's Krista, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, but the magistrate, like the character it's based on that actually was the one that investigated Lembrakis' assassination, he ended up being after the junta.
He was the Mueller of his time, really, except for he actually did something.
He was thrown in prison during the junta after this, and then got out of prison and was elected prime minister of Greece. And he was prime minister of Greece in the 80s. Yep. So kind of a fascinating character. He was actually a conservative royalist, which kind of makes him more on the side, I think, of... He's kind of the Liz Cheney, I think. I made that joke already.
I was going to say Mishima, but that works too. Yeah, it's a...
Same difference, right?
Well, no, I'm saying he got elected on a reform platform because they were like, wow, he's so into democracy, but it's like, but he also really likes the king for some reason. And I feel like
I was going to say, I wish Liz Cheney would do the action that is done in Japanese that is ritualistic when somebody is dishonored. Thank you. Notice how I went around all the things I could have said there, right? This is how you do it. This is professional.
Classy.
Thank you.
I think the because he like in Mishima, he had somebody with him that also did it. Yeah. I think that should be her father. Her and her father.
It's apparently the only way that guy's gonna pass off. I mean, he's like beyond Darth Vader at this point.
Yeah, he's got more replacement parts than Darth Vader, certainly.
When he put out that ad for her recently, I was thinking like, I will adopt your heart, like, because there's no way that heart is still. He's gonna need a new one soon.
Yeah, that's why he wants to adopt your children, is to have their hearts.
Exactly. It's Occam's razor, really. But I think that like it's interesting that the politics of this, even though they are so long ago, like literally a generation before anyone on this show, it still resonates. It still resonates in a way that a lot of the things that they're pointing out that are problems are still problems. Just the mechanisms and the way that they are implemented and the media savviness of the people are sort of different. But like, I mean, there's a lot of corollaries to a lot of things. Like, I don't need to point that out, right? It's sort of like this is like any leader that comes up that like threatens the establishment and like, oh, they got, oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of an escalating thing, and he kind of ended up being the one that took the hit for it.
Yeah.
But it's kind of an escalating, whereas first in the 1950s, right? I think it was 1957, if I'm not mistaken. The Greek, like, they only were allowed to have one left unity party. It was called like United Left something. I wrote it down, but he was representing that party, and they did better the next time, and then he won his deputy seat in 1961, actually the year my mom was born. But he won his actually both my parents, but he won his deputy seat, and then they realized that like this party was only going to do better and better, which is a story that we've heard throughout not just Europe, but like South Asia, like Indonesia had like their communist party was doing better and better. This was not a communist party. This was just kind of a left unity party, I guess. Which when do you ever hear those words anymore?
Exactly. You see why it's a radical anomaly, right? Unity on the left, the devil. Fantastic. These are the comments that people crave. That makes it go great again. I think that it is notable too that is part of a understanding of the movement, right? Of movement politics for around that time. That again, Forrest, you did the work to kind of look into what happens after and to have all the context and to put all the postscript in that does not exist in this film in any way, shape, or form. Where it absolutely did win an Oscar for best foreign feature, something along those lines, with that ending, which is basically, well, all the bad guys won and everybody good like died or is like
it's the Seinfeld
from power, right? And like that is the end of it, and that's the way it is, and it's like, oh, cool, all right, good time with the movie.
No, it's the Seinfeld joke, right? Like yada yada yada, military junta, like
well, but I mean, if you are a student of history, which I'd like to assume that for this crossover, This Is Revolution folks have at least a passing interest in it. And if you're a student of film and you enjoy things that are not just like light popcorn fare, as movie night extravaganza fans do, then I think that like you can find a lot to like love here. That you get the bleak allegory part of it, and then you also get the. It didn't exactly, it didn't exactly end there, but for the purposes of a narrative structure, it does. It did end there, and like that's why it's important to like learn about the history, because this stuff has happened again and again and again, all these different countries, et cetera, et cetera. I agree. The Proud Boys did like this movie for all the wrong reasons. They thought it was a bunch of cool guys doing cool guy stuff, is what they thought. Yes, but like.
Well, also, I think it's important to note that this movie is being filmed. It was being filmed in like 1967, 1968. This is very much an ongoing.
This is like ripped from the headlines when he did this. Like very much ripped from the. I mean, it was absolutely like there was not. And think about this: an era without cable news, right? And without like embedded reporting and any of that. I mean, it's notable for a lot of reasons that I feel like. And I feel like Battle of Algiers is in the same way. But I think Battle of Algiers actually is the more popular of the two. And I love them both. But I think it gets all the praise. Whereas I think like with Z, it kind of shows a different side of it. Because again, I'm going to throw back on it. It's the procedural aspect of it. How did this happen? It's how we all wanted Mueller to be. And how we kind of expected him to be, instead of just being like, looks like there were some crimes, y'all. Pretty crazy. Better look into it. Yo, wasn't that your job? Wasn't that your thing? You were supposed to be doing that. That's like literally why you were hired, right?
I think something happened and we should investigate it more. And it's like, what were you doing?
Someone should definitely look into that. Yeah, you are the one that should look into that. Yeah.
Jeez. If only there was some kind of Federal Bureau of Investigation and some guy was like, in charge of it, and he could investigate things. I don't know, man. I'm leaving.
They're really busy doing agitprop on Twitter. Anyway, so that's.
I have my role.
He's gonna show up on the show Mueller, she wrote.
Oh, I was gonna say I have my role as Sam the Eagle in fucking the new Muppet movie coming up. I can't stick around. You know what I mean? Like
exactly. Yeah. got big Sam
Um,
Beagle energy for sure.
yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, I
But
think that's
just to
really,
bring it back to the history, I love the fact that at the very end, he gets asked a question about the Dreyfus Affair, and he's like,
Yeah.
Dreyfus was guilty, which is made me flash back to my Texas world history. The Dreyfus Affair,
Not
was
Richard Dreyfuss, people. It's not
no,
Richard
which is the whole reason why I remembered it from high school, because
Of course it is.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
remember Dreyfus's first name. It's because it's always Richard in my head.
Yeah.
But it
I think
was
Albert
about
Dreyfus,
a
right? Albert
Jewish
Dreyfus.
descended, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's about a Jewish descended German soldier who was convicted wrongly for selling secrets to the Germans.
Right.
It was an era of German fear. Like there was a lot of fear mongering about Germany. At that period in France and in England. So it's not that big of a.
But look, I get it. Like I get it. Like it's not like that came from nowhere, right? I mean, like,
no, but like
get it. But yeah, again, at a certain point, it does become almost like comically propagandized. Sure.
Yeah, and like basically the proto-fascists were like against Dreyfus, which if you kind of look at the
if you've ever met Richard Dreyfus, he's a delightful man. Anyway,
yeah, absolutely.
Yo, his son.
That's why proto-fascists don't like him.
His son is the worst. Is the literal.
His son
worst.
is
That
the
guy.
fucking worst.
That guy sucks. He's not funny. He's not interesting. He's a fit. Like anyway, whatever.
We need more.
I have a funny story with the same kind of thing. As a kid, I remember learning about the Dreyfus Affair because I was absent from school one day when I was in like 7th or 8th grade, and we had to do a report on one country in South America. And because I was absent, everyone took all the good countries, so I was left with French Guyana. And so I did an entire report about Devil's Island.
What's wrong with French Guyana?
I like the character as
I don't know.
is.
I just didn't know anything about.
Everyone else got all the good countries. That's amazing.
Brazil had a movie based on it.
Yeah, you know all that goodwill that we just built up for the last 17 minutes gone. That's gone. But we jumped up 5 spaces.
Fans will know. But no, so I ended up like focusing like a good amount of this report on Devil's Island, which is where they kept Alfred Dreyfus, I guess.
Not Richard Dreyfus. Richard Dreyfus was kept somewhere else. But real quick, I want to point out, everyone loves Sorcerer. I like Sorcerer a lot too. I love The Wages of Fear more as a film. The main actor, Yves Montand, I don't know, I took German, man. He also plays Z. So the guy that plays Z is in Wages of Fear, which is sort of like the less, well, it's definitely the less Friedkin movie of that story, but you can get different things out of it. I think I strongly urge anyone that likes Sorcerer to check out Wages of Fear. Also, if you like the lead in Z, he's awesome in that, but a very, very different kind of role because he was acting.
Also, Billy Friedkin said that he got the idea for how to shoot The French Connection by watching Z specifically.
Yeah.
So
which there's the French Connection to the movie.
Yeah. And Richard
It was indeed The French Connection, yes.
Richard
the titular
Dreyfus,
French Connection.
No, not, oh wow. Alfred Dreyfus is the other French Connection to the movie.
Just don't say Fred
Flintstone. Not his son that doesn't like trains for some reason.
Ruth Harris's book Dreyfus is excellent. That's Mr. Sly. That I've heard that. State of Siege by Costa Gavras is also really good. Is it Gavras? How do you say it? I'm so sensitive about my name. You think I pick it up, but whatever.
Costa Gavras, I think.
All right, close enough.
Can we have it again with an Italian accent?
Costa Gavras.
Costa Gavras. Let me hear the music.
I watched a bunch of interviews of him being interviewed by like a lot of different international kind of accents, and some of them they were like Costa Gavras, like they did the rolling of the R's, and some of them were like Costa Gavras. Like I don't know. I watched. He was on with Amy Goodman, but they weren't talking about Z, so I ended up turning.
Amy Goodman, come on, movie and Extravaganza.
I love her. She's great.
She's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I also I love that as much as feet.
I mean, probably
feet.
At least
you
once.
pick your feet. You pick your feet in Poughkeepsie, not to be a Forrest here, but yeah, so Second Horizons on it too.
Well, actually, it's feet.
Actually, I think if we pick your feet in Poughkeepsie, that's the actual one.
Getting back on point. Where's it going? Literally any of that. Lost it.
Damn
Damn
those
it.
feet.
I just didn't look at the comments, man.
No, that's why I have it full screen, so I don't see any of the comments unless you put it on screen for me.
So I have a clip
Sorry,
of
guys.
Costa.
We love you. Keep commenting. He never looks at it. I think I was just gonna say, like, as much as I love hearing actual Italian folk like roll their R's and really go for it. If you hear like a newscaster or something do it, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. I'm like, cut that. It's like when people try to do extreme Mexican tone when they're doing names. I'm like, look, man, you grew up in the suburbs. Like, you know, you didn't hang out in Tijuana. Like, please don't do that. Like, it really bothers me. I don't know why. Affected accent, just like not even accent. It's
because you're always dressed like Pancho Villa. Just kidding.
It's like that, huh? Okay. It's getting contentious. Why don't you give yourself another award for how many times you've been on this show? Anyway, what are we going to spin up?
Champion. I couldn't literally.
Yay! And the winner is me. Oh my god, I had no idea.
Oh my god, I had a trophy made just in case.
So first of all, I'd like to thank me, then also myself, and I couldn't have done it without me.
I'd like to thank the Extravaganza, Movie Night Extravaganza, and that's also me. Oh my god,
that's me. Oh wow, I had no idea.
All right, so this is Costa Gavras, talking to I think it's at the Oscar kind of thing. No, I think it was originally from Criterion.
And for folks that are not familiar with the movie, because it's gonna be a lot of people's first time hearing about it, this is the director of the film. Let's reestablish that, because there's a lot of nonsense. We have fun here. We like to be informative as well. So,
hang on, keep plugging. I'm just sharing my
Poncho Neutron. That's good. Yeah, let's see. Missing is a classic. Missing is awesome.
Yeah. Well, where's your sombrero?
Look, if you want a sombrero, I can get you a sombrero. Don't ask me how I got it, but
yeah, you ran off from Jose's with the birthday sombrero.
Oh, it's Kristina. Speaking of birthday sombreros, I don't know. That's
we're dying out here.
I'm doing great. Welcome back. What are we watching, Forrest?
All right, so this is the Costa Gavras "You Made It Political" interview. No, he gets asked about being one of the most political.
I can make it political, bro.
I liked his movies before he was political.
All right. I guess there isn't sound. Hold on. Should have had sound.
Have you been frustrated sometimes in your career by being referred to as a political filmmaker? It's one of those labels that people hang around your neck. Can every film, even a comedy, be made political effectively?
I think yes, because we have two things. Roland Barthes, I'm sure you know, used to say every film is political, or they say every film politics, or can analyze every film politically. And I give you an example. When I was very young, I used to see the movies with Esther Williams. You remember Esther Williams?
Oh, yes.
Beautiful.
Right,
With
right.
extraordinary swimming pools,
Yes, of
with a
course.
big house, with a beautiful pink car. And I would like to go to the Americans to say, this is America. The image of the America for me, it was coming from, I received it through Esther Williams movies, which were just comedies with beautiful girls, with a light story and so forth. So they played the political thing on me. They make me create an opinion which not right, very positive opinion about the Americans. I thought, but the American life was much more complex than that. And everybody knows that. And I discovered that later. So for that, I say every movie is political. What's political? It's what you understand or what you bring out of the movie when you leave.
But you have covered so many bases in your life, and you've brought to each of them a kind of perspicacious approach, which is political, but in another way, it's very human. I think all your films
Absolutely.
are very, very human.
And my philosophy of movies is when you go to a movie, you don't go to listen a political speech. You don't go either to university to learn something about historical events and so forth. You go for the show. The movie, it's a show. You go there to have emotions, to like, to laugh, to love, to hate, all those good emotions. You can do something in your life after it, or you do nothing, but the movie, it's that. It's a show. So I'm trying to make all my movies, whatever could be the story, to make also, of course, a show.
It's his most well-known movie too, but that's the thing. So people think he only ever made political films. He made a ton of films. Like, he made a lot of them, and they're all really good.
Yeah.
But like, if you make if
And
one
I
of your
mean-
best ones is like one of the best political thrillers of all time, then
And then he had to invoke, Esther Williams, which of course brings up Corn Pop, and we know how that ends.
Hang on there, Esther.
once you invoke Corn Pop, Brandon gets real excited. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, he made that movie Capital, I guess, a couple years ago. I haven't seen it, but he was on like a press run for a while, and they were asking about all his old stuff, and he was kind of, I guess, having like a career retrospective.
Missing's really good. That was invoked earlier. That's this businessman goes to Chile to investigate disappearance of his son after a military takeover. Yeah, at one point he decided to kind of lead into it, yeah, he's in Lumiere, which is actually wild and underrated, where it's like a bunch of different directors doing things. There's a lot of really cool stuff that he's done. He's had a very storied career. Kristina, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
It's good to see you.
The tech guy that helped me out because I was having internet issues was like, "Oh, you stream on Twitch?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I want to do that," and they're like, "Do you know Keffels?" And I'm like, kind of, yeah.
You tell her she was supposed to be on our damn show.
much love all around, man.
That's awesome. Jason, I see you. You're welcome. And thank you also. This is I think this has been a great series. I know we're trying to talk about Z too, but I think we've really covered a lot of breadth and width of film here, and it's nice to be able to both bring something new to folks, but like also lean into where people's sweet spot is as well. And
Yes,
it's a hard thing to do.
And I was actually surprised with the poll that I put up on our Twitter.
But like
group.
no one had seen the movie. I thought half the people in this panel said no. No names mentioned.
I mean, I really enjoyed this. I think it is a good like sister piece almost to Battle of Algiers, because I think Battle of Algiers is a really good it's a really good like guerrilla war movie, right? Like it's a liberation struggle movie. This is kind of the opposite of that. This is what happens when the poverty kind of takes over. It's not a colonized situation, and it's the poverty is exploited by the ruling class, and everybody's kind of the people that are struggling, at least a certain kind of person that's struggling, like men that are in poverty, but also like kind of working as like longshoremen and stuff like that. Like they can easily be kind of brought into like fascist unions in a way, right? Like the only way they can work through the place that they all hang out and listen to Jordan Peterson talk about not right, not left, but forward, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, the Greek Jordan Peterson, exactly. I just have to
do it in your gang speech, believe it or not.
Exactly. I have to address this in the comments. Jason asked if he was going to see me on tour, or we not hitting the West Coast. It's almost exclusively a West Coast tour, my guy. Although I don't think that includes Mexico, unfortunately. But I think the closest to would be like the Anaheim show. We're playing with a guy from the Weirdos. But the rest are with McCluskey, Oakland, Portland, Seattle. You can find all that stuff. NeutronFriendsBandcamp.com. It'd be great to see you. I think
You can't go to
he's
Mexico
doing that
anymore.
thing with Ben. When is it? But that's like next month, right? That's like October or something. I don't know where it's.
You can't go to Mexico anymore because they keep confusing you with Pancho Villa.
Pancho Neutron, man. Come on. I'm a truth requirer. It's a requirement of the truth. Thank you.
I love how everyone's
Yeah,
talking
she
about
didn't wear-
the coup in Chile.
What about? I
In the
mean, of course.
comments.
Oh yeah. Well, because that's missing. That's another
Yeah.
thing that he did. That's similar-ish. You know, it doesn't end quite as
Nazis were involved too.
Yeah, as one does. It's the law.
Yeah. Next
Well,
time
here in
Nazis
South
go in South
America-
America, y'all.
Yeah, there's got to be not.
Nevada. I mean, no offense to Nevada. But... Is it the jacket? We are playing Las Vegas. I give off Nevada vibes.
You kind of do.
I don't know. You get that soft-spoken Harry. I was at Harry Styles, Harry Reid
Harry Styles, Harry Reid, whatever. Practically the same dude. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm just picturing Harry Reid in a dress and with Olivia Wilde. But no, so I want to, we're halfway through this.
Why don't we save this for the after party? Exactly.
Yeah.
But,
so the fascism part of it really.
Nevada is like the developmentally disabled like sibling of California, by the way, and we say that as a compliment. But
no, so the thing that fascinated me about this is the entirety of because. So the way that this coup kind of worked, and the way that they kind of explained it in this movie, they start to, but they don't really. They mentioned it a few times. Is that the excuse the generals made is that parliamentarianism or whatever had completely failed the population because they were in something that we know very well, like partisan gridlock pretty much in parliament, and nothing was getting done, and the economic situation sucked. So they were saying, if we don't do this, there's going to be a communist plot, and they're going to rise to power. So we have to take action. We have to, lock the whole city down, lock the whole country down, really on martial law. But they started to talk about this with the not right, not left. Like the thing that they were fighting against, they claim to be right, is ideology itself. Like they felt like ideology, any kind of ideological predilection. Of course, they put the hammer down on leftists the second.
Yeah,
they got.
I'm glad that never showed up ever again in history, and certainly not recently.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Oh, Annie, you okay?
Yeah. No, it's just
Andrew
weird cough I
Fang.
have.
Yeah. No, Bandrew.
But I think we're very much in the age of post ideology, which is kind of what made this movie fascinating, because the very thing is that it isn't an ideology. The ruling class ideology is obviously a far right ideology, but they pretend it isn't, and they hide it behind this we don't have an ideology. Our ideology is just the state. And it's like, yeah, my God, that's an ideology, number one.
First of all, statism is actually an ideology, so we'll just start with that. It's a lame one. It's like the new metal of ideologies, but whatever. That's good.
But yeah, it's so that kind of
everyone's speechless now. All right, yeah.
No, so that part of it definitely fascinated me, and the fact they actually did exploit that, and they managed to slip it into this movie without drawing too much attention and saying, so this is how the coup happened. But they were able to lay that groundwork where they have even the fascist guy being like, we're changing this around. It's no longer right. It's no longer left. It's no longer workers. It's no longer capitalists. Which no, it still is.
No,
but
absolutely still is.
that's not a you can't just paper over class distinctions
yeah, that's not how that works. Right. But that's an attempt you do when you have an ideology that you don't personally care for. You pronounce yourself above ideology, and you pronounce any ideologues as corrupt, because you can just blanket corruption over and over again. It's corruption. Well, what's corrupt about it? Well, it's corrupt. Well, explain exactly the corruption that you're talking about. Well, it's just it's all over the place. It's really corrupt.
I'm gonna drain the swamp.
Have to back it up.
But
I mean,
yeah,
take of
but,
that
like,
what you will. It's a model that's worked in South America enough, you know.
Yeah,
And it's
imagine being working class and falling for like the most elitist person you can imagine as like your choice of a candidate,
Yeah.
someone that you can relate to.
Oh, he cares about me. Oh, I'm sure he does. Yes.
Mhm.
but I mean, you see
But
that
that's
one
not new. That's what these
Yeah.
movies are so great. And I think that's
Yeah.
your point, Forrest. If I may speak for you, I think is that
Well,
like
I
it's
have
kind of
I
cool
have
to
the
see it in
exact-
context, right?
Yeah. The exact quote when the guy is standing up there and he's like, "We must destroy the intellectual scum," and that's kind of the same like elitist thing, right? Like, oh, it's these book nerds, these fucking nerds coming in here like spreading all their elitist scum, and then the guy says, "Let's burn down the bookstore," and it's very much just telling you like this is an anti-academic movement, this is an anti-elitist movement, this is the far right, I guess, swamp almost that not in the Trump way, but in like the like the state,
But in a Trump way.
Yeah, but in the proud way.
With a Greek accent, with a better diner. Sorry, Kristina, I didn't mean to do it to you.
No, but I'm saying, but in a Trump way.
Yeah, but in a Trump way. Here we go. All right. No, and I think that's what I like most about these kinds of movies, like Z, Battle at Algiers, et cetera, is it puts in historical context and you see that, like, look, the actual mediums themselves have changed, but the tactics have really been tried and true since before we were born. Train the bookstores. God damn it.
But yeah, I mean, you do see it with Ron DeSantis. You see Ron DeSantis very much throwing the hammer down.
And the following up on any of the actions doesn't matter so much as being in the zeitgeist and saying the right things to get everybody to do their 2 minutes hate at like whoever the object of the the punching bag is for that week.
The man is trying to do a Trump imitation. He's doing the hand gestures.
Yeah,
he's trying to sound like him.
He's getting real weird. He has the red tie that he wears everywhere now, and it's too long for him. And he wears the padded jacket to try to be like,
yes.
Which is
like when a little kid wants to imitate their dad, and they dress like their dad, and they like wear, you know what I mean? And they're like, they do the same.
If I may, to me, it reminds me of something like Silverchair or Candlebox, where they tried to emulate the things that they thought made Nirvana interesting that were not at all the things that made Nirvana interesting. But it was just close enough. If you were an idiot, that maybe you might fall for it.
But I mean, isn't that kind of the base that he's going for there?
Seems to be working, right? So
yeah,
good for that dude, I guess.
Don't be like them. Be like Bush. Not the president, but the band, who sounded like Nirvana.
Which one?
Who sounded like Nirvana, but like did it because they all had the same influences.
And also brought in Andy from Silkworm to play second guitar on one of their tours, which is a total bro move. And whatever I think of their music, endless respect. Good on you, Gavin and company.
Ron DeSantis 24 campaign, lithe and ferocious as a tiger. Yeah, that scene is
normally you invoke Bush in this show. It means something entirely different. So I see where everyone's starting to flip out, myself inclusive. Like, what?
That
Prescott Bush is his second record. It's great.
No, but that scene right where the magistrate tricks the one guy. I don't know if it's Yaji or like they have the whatever rhyming names, but Yagi and but like
Yogi and Yagi.
Yeah, but so he tricks them, the guy, into freaking out because he's such like a virulent fascist anti-communist that by accusing him of being a communist, he gets up and he's like, I am not a communist. I'm actually part of this organization, and totally outs himself. And he looks so proud in that moment, and he looks down at his lawyer, and his lawyer is like you fucked up, and then it fades out. That moment is like chef's kiss on that.
And then everybody's trying to open up that same door.
Yeah, and it's and it's like I said, you think about the fact that and we've talked about on these various shows, and especially in Movie Night Extravaganza when we covered movies like Vice, just this absolute worship of like norms and like trusted institutions, right? That people are thinking about it in terms of like how it is from this late 60s, from like All the President's Men and Watergate and things along those lines. That there would eventually be some form of justice, not just like online catharsis, and there might actually be some consequences. Whereas now everybody has just normalized the idea that they're trying to think 5 steps ahead, that they don't even bother to do the right thing because all they're thinking about is the ultimate culmination of the reaction to the reaction to the reaction to the reaction to the politics of what it is they're trying to do. And
sounds like a real Twitch stream right there.
I was gonna say,
Kristina,
sounds like
I'll team up with you any day. Let's go. I'll even let you talk.
I was gonna say a little less Liz Cheney, a little more Spike Lee doing the right thing. You know? Yeah.
That's right. And we all know the right thing would be ritual suicide. Anyway, but
hey, I'm not the one that wish suicide on anyone tonight.
I'm not wishing suicide on anyone. I'm just saying that sometimes when you've dishonored yourself, it is honorable.
Revolutionary, if you will.
Yeah, look at Mishima. Look at our classic episode, Mishima.
Yes.
That scene is completely brilliant because you feel the disdain. I think that Costa or Costa, whatever. I'm not even trying to say it again. But you see that Costa Gavras, but you see the complete disdain he has as like a creative person and as I think someone who's kind of intellectual and a leftist, obviously, towards these generals in that scene, because they as each one of them gets is about to get sentenced, they're like, I'm gonna kill myself, and then the magistrate just keeps writing out the thing, and then each one in order walks outside, can't figure out that fucking door, the same door, and then that music,
which is incredible.
And that, I don't know, I was laughing my ass off.
Just put the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme over it, and it's totally different, right?
Okay.
There's just a whole list of them. It's like
you can add that theme to use it to any situation. I mean, like certain people finally getting their accounts suspended on Twitter and stuff like that. You ain't seen nothing yet. Okay, your account gets suspended.
Me?
Too soon. I was gonna say too soon. Ruthless. Everyone had money on me doing it. Kristina comes in, dark horse, real true success story out of nowhere.
She comes in, all lithe and ferocious like a tiger.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Oh God, Stevie, seriously.
All right. Stay to see.
You are a simp. Anyway.
State of Siege, I agree, is that there's the torture in that film is as rough as that should be. That's about it. Curb theme to the Pol Pot administration. Yeah, all right.
But I think this film does a good job showing how, in the case of like these fascists and this paramilitary organization, like the wording of what they're talking about, right? Like complaining about their health bills, or like a rich person gets a cold. Like it's the same line that the other guy says, like, oh, a rich person gets a cold, he can just take care of it in a week. But, I have these huge medical bills. That's the whole thing. And you see the same concerns that would turn somebody towards the left, or that would turn somebody towards, joining a trade union or something like positive, right? Like
you almost assume someone's going to leap out from behind a corner and be like, how are we going to pay for it? Like it's so relevant today. Yeah.
But like, so you see how those same concerns, and I think that works with the whole Trump and DeSantis kind of thing too, right? Like those same concerns that people have with economics get very much exploited by these far right movements, where it's a corporatized system, so they're never going to take care of you economically. But in this case, at least, and they used to do this with like Tammany Hall and places like that, right? Like you would go to the place and you would pretty much trade your vote, and they would give you your work card for the day or whatever. They give you like a little bit of money to buy some drinks or something at the Irish bar down the street. Like, immigrants were well taken care of with like, public service jobs. And I'm not saying that was a fascist way of doing things. I don't think it was, but like you do see how like politicians used to very much exploit, and still do to some degree, very much exploit these positions, I think, for people who are economically deprived.
Yeah. I mean, I think 100% that still happens. It's just that like the mechanism of doing so is like ever so slightly more obfuscated to avoid basic scrutiny. Whereas with the Tammany Hall stuff, it's like, yeah, we're doing this. Who cares? And it's like, oh yeah, actually you can't do that.
The fun cigar chomping like weird boss guy, like
Daniel Day-Lewis is just running around like doing stuff. It's like, all right, great.
The greatest Tammany Hall boss actually that ever was Al Smith. He was kind of, once he was governor, he was kind of Roosevelt before Roosevelt, and then became Roosevelt's enemy because Roosevelt was a dick to him. But he became Roosevelt's like main rival. But
Andy's gonna do that to me any day now.
But he went from like cigar chomping like Tammany Hall boss to becoming governor and actually starting like the programs, like, you know, unemployment insurance and stuff a decade before Roosevelt, you know, continued his programs. It was back when Roosevelt was kind of a dandy, though. I think he kind of mellowed out as he got a little bit older. He could walk at that point too, so, you know, you couldn't stop him.
So I think So one thing I think that's notable about Z and, you know, I guess Greek governance in the 60s, right, is that there was a lot of repression, and the political climate is hard is harsh. But I think it's notable to me in the fact that you see a prominent activist kind of raising the right questions to potentially change, to start the wheel of change ever so slowly rolling. And then you see like what happens to people like that, which is the fact that, you know, inconvenient truths. But you see it like it's not cool looking. It doesn't look like, you know, certainly, you know, the style of the time would have been like John Wick or something. Like it isn't like, you know, it's like messy, it's ugly, it's, you know, and then you see it unfold with the investigation, where it's like, oh yeah, well, in some cases, you know, being honest about the things that you see, like literally, it will cost you your life. And like, look, I'm not trying to turn into like, you know, Zelensky worship or anything along those lines, but Putin's a good example of this. Look at oh god, the freaking Navalny, right? Like, you know, look at him, like, where it's just like, oh my god, like it's almost, if sometimes like it's lucky if you just get killed, right? You just have your life ended in other ways. And I know that we're real good about pointing out that kind of thing on this show, and we're real honest about that, but it's a tool. It's a tool that's used to silence, and it's to be able to see it in allegory form makes us understand that this was happening literally before anybody on this show was alive, and will continue to happen.
Well, and it's kind of fascinating, the actual assassination of Grigoris Lambrakis, I guess, I think is, if I remember the actual assassination was done by gun. He was shot 3 times. So, but to have it happen in this with the police batons, number one, it just gives you a good way to open up the guy's jacket and be like, oh, he really is working for the cops. It's a nice, easy sign of that without, like, you know. But also it kind of makes it a lot bloodier and a lot more gruesome, and you have to, like, you really have to beat someone to death. Like, it's not just, you know, somebody runs up to you kind of cowardly and shoots you twice and runs away. Like, no, like, it's you've got to stand over the person and just keep hitting them, and you know, if somebody throws you off, then you have to come back. Like, it's just the most gruesome way that they could have done it.
And you get the Rashomon effect too. You see that told where you have events that happened and you have people that are trying to tell like their truth of it or whatever, and like you see that how it all fits together and how people can lie without lying in some cases.
Yeah, and you know, the plausible deniability of the state itself, right? Despite the fact that like even people, like, I don't think that the one guy that he meets with that isn't well, I guess he's there when it happens, but the guy that's not the security chief or the head of the military police, the other guy that he kind of meets with is a lot more of like a little snake, and you see like he's a little bit higher up. He works for the minister. Like you could really see how he doesn't want to know the answer to this, even if he was a part of it. You know what I mean? Like, none of these people do. Like, they just assume that the bureaucracy was out of it, and this is false, and that this is all a lie. And like, whether or not they know the fact that this is happening, they're still willing to deny it because they're like, oh, we're the state, we don't do that. Like the
how could we? We're the state. Exactly.
and the idea that, you know, investigating it further is going to get you, you know, like, you're not going to move up in the ranks anymore. It's like, well, you want to move up in the ranks. Like, we all want to move up in the ranks. Like, you could, you know, be a higher up judge if you just, you know, ignore this for now. And it's like, why aren't you ignoring this for now? Like, why
put you on the Supreme Court. It'd be great.
Why are you trying to solve a mystery? Like, it's such like a.
Be a lot cooler if you didn't. Yeah, and, I mean, like, look, yeah.
When he dies, it's such a casual, like, oh, well, we'll just throw, I guess, a manslaughter charge onto the, you know, the ones that we already have. Like, it's fine. Like, we're just gonna write the same exact thing. Like, figure it out.
Well, so much it is just that social pressure. It's not like, again, everyone thinks about it in terms of there being these, you know, cartoon villains that are like sitting there like giving everyone ultimatums, but that's how it's really done is to use natural pressure of a bureaucracy or whatever just to crush dissent. Which isn't as sexy. That's not as sexy of a story to tell, but like it's so deftly done here. Like it's
when
incredibly
it's
well
done right, like I was thinking about like what makes a compelling comic. Because I was thinking about Norman Rockwell for some reason doing Norman Rockwell comics, and anyways, like the story about him fighting to get black people on the cover of the Saturday Evening Post is an interesting story and would work as a film if it's done right, but not as a comic.
Right. Well, the medium matters, and again,
exactly. And so like doing something that's so nuanced like this works as a film, especially the way they did this. And I don't know if it could work in another medium as well.
Absolutely, and again, harken back to what I said. Like, remember, this is before the 24/7 news cycle. This is before Americans. Not that we have a vested interest in like foreign policy and foreign politics now, but at the time it was like almost comically less grandiose. And the idea that like
just you wait until we get to the after party, because the only place that you can really find the clips that I pulled, because we're gonna get more historical. In the after party, I guess. But the only way that I could really find a lot of these clips is to go to like the British Path news like YouTube channel or whatever, where you have to listen to the guy like explain the news. He's like, the other day in Greece, something happened. Like with the
speaking of historical, we're also going to get to the bottom of where I can get a Blondie T-shirt like Kristina, because that is awesome.
Oh! I mean, I'll definitely
save it for the after party. Make them pay for it. That's why I say
yes.
Hey, before we sign out, should I play the intro again for Kristina because she didn't see it?
Or why don't we save it for the after party?
I'll do it.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't mind. I know I've been doing all the talking on this, so I apologize for that. But it's what I do. I'm known for it.
I've been enjoying it, more. Until I replace you.
Right, exactly. As we firmly established. I mean, I'd love to hear everyone else's final thoughts on this as well, and then it would be worthwhile, I think, to kind of wrap up the series, because I think the series itself has been super cool. I think so. I mean,
and I'll read through the list again of movies before we sign out.
Before we after party forever, as we firmly established.
But Kristina, I want to hear your final thoughts first.
Well, I mean, I thought the reason why I saw this film was because I was like, is there a movie named Z out there? And I was correct. And I thought it was, quite interesting and, very, very too like on the nose when it comes to a lot that has happened in our history. And
Did you go for the other 25 letters too? Like, is there a movie called A? Is there a movie called B?
She started doing alphabet movies. She's like, yo, I'm good with the one.
Trying to do letterbox one-liners on movies that just begin with one letter of the alphabet now.
Was it Q, Andy? Notice I'm directly asking Andy this. Was it Q that was like the giant serpent that would eat people that flew off the buildings?
That sounds right.
Talking about?
Yes.
Yeah, next watch Q with the pterodon. Thank you, Jacob Virgil, in the comments. Can't believe I did the esoteric sci-fi this time. What's the word?
Yeah, no. It's been a minute since I watched it, so it's not fresh in my mind.
The special effects are not great, but
no.
But since we've been talking about it, he's watched it and the sequel and the other 3 sequels in that 30 seconds somehow. He just has a bunch of TVs going.
That's back when Q was a little more fun, right? M is so good, Mr. Sloth. That is my favorite alphabet movie. Probably.
Oh yeah, that's a fucking good movie.
M is.
We haven't talked about any of the old like movies that are that. I mean, Andy and I talked with Jay Hutch about Maltese Falcon. I guess that's the closest we really got.
X.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
No.
Nor have I watched Renee's show the way they covered it, because I want to watch it first.
Yeah. Same here.
But Andy, let's hear some final thoughts.
I have been waiting for an excuse to watch this movie. It's been something that I've been wanting to watch for like 25 years. And just like either it was just not happening that I was going to watch it, or I just I didn't have.
This movie's good. I can't watch this.
Yeah, no, I gotta watch. I gotta watch this bad Russian film with Antonio Banderas in it. But no, it's it is one of those things that I've been wanting to watch for a while, and really glad that I finally had an excuse to watch it, because it really is an absolutely masterful film. Again, of doing something that works very distinctly in this medium of film, and wonderful storytelling, but also brings in other, other classic films like, Kurosawa, like I can't think of the others off the top of my head, but like it really is, that ripped from the headlines kind of thing. It's everybody does a terrific job in this film, including the guy who had the same shirt I had in high school.
I thought you weren't going to get it in time, and you got it in right before the buzzer, and I appreciate that about you. Yeah, it's an ethos.
Yeah. So, hold on. All right, so we got JFK, the player, Mikey and Nikki, a woman under the influence, network, Bran.
Say it, Andy.
I'm not going to say it here. Come on.
Battle of Algiers, Chinatown. Forget it. It's Chinatown over there. Fargo.
Directed by no one. Crazy. Yeah.
The French Connection. And, of course, Z, the last letter of the This is Revolution alphabet, apparently.
It starts with JFK and ends with Z.
And, of course, the JFK one was one of the weirdest ones that we've done, because then we had James. Well, Andy came on, number one, but that's not why it was weird. We had James D.
This one time, that wasn't the reason.
Didn't hurt.
We had James D. Eugenio, who was the guy that co-wrote. Well, I mean, I maybe co-wrote. That's the title that I guess he had, but like he worked with Oliver Stone to put together the JFK Revisited documentary, and he was like the screenwriter pretty much on it.
I feel like if you work with Oliver Stone, you get a contact eye, but maybe that's just me.
and it seemed like he might have had one, and we had him. We had Deep State Cuba. We had him. We had Andy. We had JG Michael. It was like a powerhouse panel of just I mean, at least in my case, like autistic level regurgitation of the JFK assassination facts.
Still available. Check it out.
No, because I had gone through an entire, like, I don't know, I go through these like things where I'm interested in something. So I had read, like, during the summer before I even thought of doing this, like, I think I had read 6 books on the JFK assassination. I went, that's the movie that we should do because it's Pascal's favorite movie. And so we ended up getting real deep into it. I was like, Jesus Christ. And then we also, I mean, we had Phil Barber, he was on, or John Barber. Wow, I don't know why I said Phil. I knew someone named Phil Barber one time.
You're just aching for him to smack you down again, is what it is.
So we had John Barber, and he was the guy that he got the Jim Garrison archives after his death.
Yep, that's right.
Kind of fascinating.
Just don't ask him about Dan Rather, and you'll be just fine. By the way, I can say at least 9 of these are badass, of course, because I'm on it. But the Fargo is fantastic as well. I was very sorry for not being on that one. Kristina is in rare form on that one.
I really like the 2 Cassavetes ones that we did with Matthew Film Guy, like that.
Mm-hmm.
That I feel like that was top tier nerd shit, like film nerd shit. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, yeah. Like look at the constituent parts, but that's your deal.
And then I had to find out he tried to get with my grandma at a party and made it weird, and you know what I mean? Like Matthew Film Guy, not John Cassavetes. No, I'm kidding. No, John Cassavetes tried.
I got a couple final thoughts. I know I've been giving a lot of them real quick, and then I wouldn't mind throwing up the tour dates so people like the host of this show, Jason Miles, can understand where these shows are and not just hear about them in the endless Twitter feed where information is disseminated. Is that cool?
I wanted to say Network was, I think, my favorite. Out of all of these that we watched, I think Network was my favorite of the ones that
my favorite movie of all time. And we got into a substantive discussion about it on multiple levels. And what I love about that movie is there's so many ideas presented that you could have like 5 episodes on Network and everyone would be unique. I think that's amazing.
But go ahead, Conan. Sorry,
Oh yeah. So I think that there's a lot of notable things about this movie. You know, it's a great, the sociological aspects of bureaucracy. We covered that. Like there's like just a really penetrating examination into that and how it can protect power in the worst possible way. You get a really evocative and vivid idea of just how mundane a coup can happen. And that's really amazing because, again, it's not. It could have been done in a really action heavy way, and maybe it would have been a more popular movie. Although this was really popular at the time, but yeah, again, like the whole.
He was like, "Oh, this is gonna disappear to the ether," and then all of a sudden, people across the world were fucking watching it. He's like, "Oh, fuck,"
because it was the investigative journalism of its time, right? Just like Battle of Algiers was, and like if you wanted to get across the the fragments, images, moments, sounds, the smells, like all that kind of stuff, you had to do it in a film. And this is a perfect example of why people should look at film for things other than what it immediately gravitates towards giving people now, and dig back into older stuff, because again, I think the audience for this show especially, they owe it to themselves to check out this film and films like it, and because it's a treat for the eyes, and it's a treat for the intellect as well. And again, I love how much of a bummer it is that if you only know it from the film, you're like, oh, that sucks. This is like Dancer in the Dark or something. Like everything just like sucks at the end of it, which of course we'll get into the after party. And historically, repression didn't end up being the rule of the day for forever. Like darkness was on 1,000-year reign. But if you just watch the movie, it's a bummer of an ending. But I actually love that about it. Look, one of my other favorite movies, weirdly one of those you haven't covered in these crossovers, Brazil. Bummer ending. But yeah, that's what all that is. Just real quick, this is for Jason Miles. Conan, Neutron, The Secret Friends on tour. Come talk to me at With and To about film. And here we are. These are all the places we're playing. Las Vegas. I don't live in Nevada, but we were playing in Nevada. We're playing Dalit with the Weirdos. We got 3 shows in the Kluski, Oakland, Portland, Seattle. We're playing Shelter Cove, which should be interesting. Eugene, Missoula, Montana, Casper, Wyoming. We're gonna hang out with Liz Cheney, Casper, Wyoming. It's gonna be great. Denver, Colorado. Please come see us. Talk to me about movies. Talk to me about politics. Talk to me about the riffs, and also feature guest of the show, Erica Strout, will be throwing in guitar with me as well. So. Thank you very much. And I think this has been a really cool series, and I'm really glad Jason let us have the opportunity. Thank you.
I was muted. No, as we're about to leave this setup, I wanted to say thank you so much to Jason. Thank you to Gene. They really came through at a time when I didn't really know what the fuck this was going to do. This was just going to be me and Andy, having fun and hanging out with like a couple, us and John Ross hanging out with like just random people. I didn't expect that we were going to actually start having real guests. Conan came on, and then I was with Jason actually, and then I was like, oh shit, like this could actually be something fun with like people that I actually like want to engage with and like talk about movies with, and that are like good at this, and it's not just necessarily going to just be like us hanging out and being like, so movies for 3 hours. What's that?
So
about?
Movies, am I right? Yeah.
Here's the
thing. Crazy.
Talking for 10 minutes. Yeah. So yeah.
We should also say, don't we have when I get back from tour in October, we're doing. What did we say? Zombie Night Extravaganza? Is that what we're saying for October? Or is it Movie Night Zombies? Yeah, Zombie Night Extravaganza, and then Election Month in November, which should be real cool.
Wait, I wasn't done with my thank you to the crew of This is Revolution. I really set it on a path. I think that was oh shit, like we actually have to create a show that's like good and vibrant and like awesome now, because people actually believe in it and they're like working towards it, and that kind of more than anything else made me want to do this as like a real thing and not just as a like a book club almost with 2 or 3 people watching it. But we are going to the after party. We should be on at either 10:15 or 10:20. It's going to take a 10-minute break and make it political.
Good.